My parents' marriage ended just over a year ago after my mom learned my dad was having an affair. My dad and his mistress had been together for about 6 years by then, and my dad was less concerned about mom finding out because my older siblings were out of the house, and I, 18 female, was almost grown. I think he wanted her to know about the affair. To me and my siblings, it looks like he hated mom, and from how he talked, it seemed he resented her for being happy with him. We all turned our backs on dad when we found out, and he tried to fight it. He spoke to us and said he loved us, was still our dad and wanted the best for us. None of us wanted the best for him. My brother told him he hoped the rest of his life was miserable. Weeks after my mom filed for divorce, my dad texted me and my siblings that his mistress was pregnant. He sent us a scanned photo, but none of us were interested in getting back in contact with him or to keep him in our lives. I still live at home with my mom and am in community college. My siblings visit, but they live out of state now. A couple of weeks ago, my dad's mistress showed up at the coffee shop where I work and she tried to talk to me. However, I stayed professional and informed her there was no personal conversation that could take place at work. She left but returned when my shift ended and tried to talk to me as I walked home. I told her I had nothing to say to her. She wanted me to look at and meet her baby, but I walked away before she could get the baby out of the stroller. She showed up again a few days later and did the same thing, but without the baby this time. She told me to think about how short life is and how our dad could die tomorrow, and we would have shut him out of our lives for no reason. I told her I don't care if they die. I told her they were sick and twisted and I was letting him go. I didn't care about them or the baby they had together. I said if she wanted her kid to be protected from the truth, then she better keep the kid away from me and my siblings because we wanted nothing to do with them and wouldn't pretend to care just to make them happy. I said she needed to leave me alone or I'd make sure I went to the police about her stalking me. When I got home, I had a random account DM me saying I was wrong not to care about people's deaths. Since she was the only person I said it to, I deleted it and moved on. But she told my dad's family, and some of them told me I should still care about that, especially my dad and the baby because they're family. Another relative said the mistress hadn't done anything wrong to me or my family and didn't deserve to have it taken out on her when she owed my mum nothing. I brushed off what they said, but I guess it made me wonder if I was wrong to say it. Either way, I won't apologise, but I'll just ignore it if she or dad tries again. Am I the idiot? The mistress did nothing. The affair lasted 6 years. She knew he was married and she was as responsible as him. Your dad apparently has his side of the family around, so he has nothing to complain about. He betrayed the whole family, not only your mom. Actions have consequences. Your father's wife was cruel to stalk you and she set herself up for a conversation she wouldn't like. Maybe things will change in the future, or maybe they won't, but not the idiot. Exactly. The "they didn't owe your mom anything" excuse is weak. Morally, anyone who knowingly gets involved in an affair is complicit in the harm caused to the family. While the main blame falls on your dad for breaking his vows, she played a willing part in it. Her trying to guilt you into forgiveness is entitled and tone deaf. You're justified in not wanting anything to do with either of them. She doesn't care about you having a relationship with her baby. She wants to absolve herself of any guilt if you accept her baby, and she's hoping she can have built-in babysitters in the form of older half-siblings. I'm certain that their little relationship is not as fun now that they have a small baby to look after and get up half the night and real-life responsibilities have gotten real. I wouldn't be surprised if your dad is not happy about going back to the diaper stage and sleepless nights after 18 years and probably resents his affair partner when he could have been an empty nester now as well. Here's the background. I've, 23 female, been part of this friend group for a while now. There are 6 of us, a mix of guys and girls, but we girls often go out just us. Over the years, I've been in 2 relationships. During my first one, long distance, I often went out with my girlfriends and they seemed happy for me, even though the relationship wasn't great. When it ended, I didn't call them crying. I told them a few weeks later and they were sympathetic, but that was about it. Fast forward to my current relationship. At first, everything seemed fine. I introduced my boyfriend, 25 male, to my friends, and it felt like they liked him. But I started noticing that every time we went out, it was always a girls' night. No boyfriends invited, ever, even though we're all in relationships. Meanwhile, my boyfriend's friend group always includes me in their plans, whether it's a night out, a birthday, or another event, and I really appreciate being part of that side of his life. A few months ago, I got busy with my sport and other things I had planned way in advance. My friends invited me out a few times, but I couldn't go because of prior commitments or work. Later, I found out, through my best friend, that they were complaining about me never coming out anymore, but instead of saying anything to me directly, they just talked about it when I wasn't there. That honestly made me angry. After that, I started dreading their invitations because I was afraid of having to say no again. When I finally saw them, I could feel the gap between us. Still, no one said anything to me directly, and once again it was just a girls' night. Now one of my friends is having a birthday. She invited the boyfriend of another girl in our group because, and I quote, "they don't see each other often, so it's okay." When I asked if I could bring my boyfriend, even offering to pay for his part of the activity, she first said, "As you wish," but then quickly changed her mind, saying she didn't want to invite more people. Her reasoning? Since I live with my boyfriend, not seeing him isn't an excuse, but he'd been away for work, and I had a sports event the week before, so we actually hadn't seen each other much. At that point, I decided I wasn't going to go. I'm tired of always choosing between my boyfriend and my friends just because our boyfriends are never invited. I love my boyfriend, and I love my friends, and I'd like to include him in that part of my life too. I totally get that sometimes it's nice to have a girls' night. I enjoy that too, but I just wish it was more balanced and not always one way. So, am I the idiot? Edit. I tried several times and some events I organised happened, but a lot of times my friends either responded to the invitation with an "I'll tell you later" or just sometimes didn't answer at all. You are the idiot. Your friends are not wrong for wanting nights out with friends and not partners. Through all stages of your life, it's good to have social gatherings with and without your partner. Now, if you're so busy that you must choose between a date night and a night with friends, then you choose what is more important to you, assuming date night, instead of forcing folks to invite your partner. Skipping your friend's birthday might strain your friendships further. If you still value these relationships, it might be worth having an open conversation with them instead of just withdrawing. But ultimately, you have the right to set boundaries and prioritize the kind of social dynamics you want. Disagree, not the idiot. She invited the boyfriend of another friend? Sounds like it's time to move on from this group of friends. I understand an occasional ladies' night, but constantly excluding your boyfriend isn't right. If they don't like him, then they should come clean, and at least you have all the information. Spend more time with your boyfriend. I have a friend, let's call him Brian, who won't shut up about his IQ. Ever since he took some online test that said he got 131, he's been acting like he's the second coming of Einstein. At first, it was just kind of annoying. He'd drop random, fun facts about how high IQ people process information differently. He started using words like erudite and obfuscate in normal conversations. But then it got worse. He started low-key insulting us. He told our friend Emily, who's in med school, that doctors are just good at memorization, not real intelligence. He told me I was wasting potential because I work in marketing instead of something more intellectually rigorous. The dude works in IT, at a help desk. Anyway, last week we were at a party and he started talking about IQ again. Someone jokingly asked, "If you're so smart, why aren't you rich?" And Brian, completely serious, goes, "Well, intelligence isn't always about wealth, it's about how you process the world. Low IQ people can never truly grasp how limiting their perception is." So I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Damn bro, that's crazy. What's it like having a high IQ and still losing at fantasy football yearly?" The room exploded. Brian turned red, mumbled something about variance and sample sizes, and left the party early. Now he's barely texting in the group chat, and a mutual friend told me I embarrassed him too much. And now, naturally, half the group has been testing their IQs just to mess with him. Some dropped an IQ test in the chat, and it's become a full-blown competition. If Brian were really a genius, you'd think he'd take it again and prove us all wrong, but no, suddenly he's not a fan of online tests anymore. Am I the idiot for finally saying something? Or did he have it coming? Not the idiot. Those 10-minute online tests always crank out 131 to get people to buy the full test. It's a scam someone with 131 IQ should be able to see through. Maybe now he'll think twice before acting superior. And honestly, the fantasy football thing is just funny. If he's so smart, he should be able to win, right? He was dishing it out, he should be able to take it. I feel like most smart people understand that IQ tests are not a good representation of intelligence. Much like standardized testing, they try to trip you up, and there are stupid tricks and patterns you can use to do decently on them. These are the same types of people who boast about their scores and then proceed to truly do nothing with their vast mental capacity. LOL. I work with a ton of extremely smart people. I can tell you they don't give a flying heck what your IQ is if you don't have applicable knowledge and experience. Who cares? I, a teen male, have been alternating weeks between my parents' home basically my whole life. They split up when I was a baby, and both have remarried since. I've been happy for the most part. I love my stepdad and my siblings. I have some on both sides. My only issue has been my stepmom. To be honest, I wouldn't say I had any real issues in the past. I do find her more annoying with more strict rules than what I have at my mom's house. She's a vice principal, very serious. But recently she's been taking shots at my mom and stepdad to me and my dad. This might have always been a thing, but now that I'm older, she's just doing it more in front of me. Saying things like she doesn't take my education seriously, she's never grown up, they flaunt their money in front of her and my dad, they spoil me, they let me get away with everything. I don't know where she comes up with this. My dad doesn't really say anything and agrees occasionally, but it's been making me angrier and angrier. I would never admit it to my dad, but I do love my mom more. She's like the most awesome and important person to me, and hearing my stepmom say crap just made me boil over. I finally broke and yelled at her after she blamed my mom for me getting a poor mark on an exam. I told her to shut her mouth about my mom and that if she said one more word, I would pack a bag and stay with my mom permanently. My dad flipped and yelled at me to apologize, but I told him if he didn't make her apologize that I was leaving. He said my mom would never allow it, and I made the mistake of saying we talked about it before. He then called my mom and started a fight with her, thinking she put me up to this. I couldn't handle it, so I left the house and called my stepdad to come get me. I've been at my mom's, but my dad's been texting and calling every day, jumping from begging me to come home and apologizing to getting into fights with my mom and stepdad. I feel like an idiot for causing a huge fight between my families. Edit, I don't think there's a custody agreement. They had me young, 20 years old, and they split when I was a baby. I was with my mom all the time until I was a toddler, and then I started spending more consecutive days with my dad. My mom also has never asked my dad for child support, and to be honest, I don't think she would even if I stayed full time. Not the idiot. Your father has no business whatsoever being angry at you or your mom. The only person he should be blaming is his rude, immature wife. No child wants to hear their parents being openly bashed in front of them. That's extremely hurtful. Your father failed to protect you and is now blaming everyone but the guilty party for the predicament he's in. One of your parents hasn't grown up, but it's sure as heck's not your mom. I wonder if this lady has the extremely misguided and uneducated view that, as a vice principal, her children should be model students because she is doing everything right as a parent. And therefore, if OP's grades aren't perfect, then obviously it's his mom's fault. Sorry you're dealing with this. Just remember that you're never too old to get a big hug from your mom. Update. So I've spoken with my mom about it, which probably made me more angry at the situation. She didn't have a bad word to say about my dad or my stepmom. I told her what they were saying about her, and she apologized to me, saying she loves me, that she's sorry I had to be part of those conversations, that she has big shoulders and can take the criticism, and will make it clear to my dad and stepmom that if they have concerns, they can address it with her and my stepdad and leave me out of it. She would love to have me full-time but doesn't want me to make a decision not to see my dad and my other siblings, who I do miss because of her. I told her I couldn't stand the way they talked about her and she didn't really say anything. She just started crying, saying I had a big heart and loved me. She told me she would deal with my dad and to let her know when I was ready to talk to him about the situation. I, 26 male, work at a marketing agency. One of my co-workers, Jake, 29 male, has always been a bit lazy but charming enough to get away with it. Our boss is strict on deadlines, but Jake has a habit of showing up late, disappearing for coffee breaks, and procrastinating until the last minute. However, he's good at sweet-talking and somehow always avoids consequences. Last week we had a huge project due. I was drowning in work, but Jake spent half the day chatting and scrolling on his phone. At the end of the day, he asked me to cover for him and tell the boss that we collaborated on his part of the project. Basically, I take responsibility for his incomplete work. I was exhausted and said, "No, I'm not doing that, Jake." He got annoyed and said, "Come on, bro, we all got to look out for each other." I stuck to my word and didn't lie when our boss asked why his section wasn't done. I calmly explained that I finished my tasks and wasn't aware of Jake's progress. Well, Jake was called into a meeting the next day and ended up getting fired. Now, some of our co-workers think I'm an idiot for not having his back, saying I could have just covered for him to avoid the drama. Others say Jake deserved it for constantly slacking. I honestly don't think I was wrong, but the guilt's starting to creep in. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Why would you cover for him and take the blame? You work in a group and each member must play their part. If Jake doesn't feel like working, then I can't see how he could keep the job without pulling you under. He was going to drag you down eventually. This is his own doing. Don't feel bad. And what about when Jake charms the boss into believing it's your fault the next big project is late? You'd be the one getting fired. They wouldn't have just fired him over one incomplete task. They were probably already monitoring him. So I doubt you stating you were unsure of his progress got him fired. If you and the rest of the office noticed his laziness, no matter how much he sweet-talked, no doubt the people paying him noticed it too, and, at some point, realized it was costing them money keeping him.